What did mom and dad do?
Oh, well, my mother, who will be listening to this, she's still alive. She's 94.
Wow.
Um, she was basically a homemaker, a housewife who raised us, but she also studied art and fashion. And later in her life, she started a kind of an interior decorating business. So she mostly looked after me and my sister. But she could have been a really interesting artist if she had pursued that. My father was just a salesman. He was a broker, an independent broker who sold chemical supplies to various businesses around LA. So I have a extremely middle class background. But they were wonderful. My father passed away 20 years ago, but he was a wonderful man. And I must say, a lot of my social skills, if I have any social skills, come from him because he was a really good salesman.
I asked this to everybody, but for you, I'm just dying to find this out. When you were 9 or 10 years old, what was one of your major emotional wants? Not a thing want, but an emotional primary want. As happy as you were, as sad as you could have been, what was a primary emotional want that you could, if you find yourself wanting at that time?
Well, I wanted to figure out what I was meant to do in life because I was a bit confused at the age of 9 or 10, to be honest with you. I was going through a strange transitional phase. I wasn't a great student in school at that point, and suddenly around the age of 12, I kind of turned it around. But I was trying to figure out what I liked, what my interests were, and how I could become somebody that wasn't so obsessed with classmates and the social aspect, but how I could become a better student. And I remember one key moment in my life, to answer your question, where back in the day, we would receive these little pamphlets, I don't know, I think at school, where you could order books. And in those days, it wasn't online. It would come through the mail. And there was like 100 titles in there. I checked off like 90 of the titles. I was so excited. A lot of them had to do with war because I was really interested in war. And then the books arrived and my parents were a little bit upset. First of all, it cost a fair amount of money. And also, what are you going to do with 90 books? We don't have room for it. But that was kind of a turning point because I got so excited by reading. There are these little tiny, very cheaply made paperback books about battles in World War II and about biographies of Winston Churchill. But I devoured them. And that was kind of a turning point in my intellectual life, if you will.
And this is the incipient stages for the landscape that for your work that we're going to see later on, right? That's the building blocks to romanticize it a little bit, right?
Yeah, that's the child and the man. Yeah, I mean, you could see that brewing back then. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of points that are kind of similar that you could look back and see. Like back in the day when I was school, when I did start to become a better student, I would take note cards. I love taking note cards and organizing it. And now that's the system I've created for writing my books these days. So there are a lot of things that through lines to my childhood.
Okay. So you're going to jump ahead, but I want to get the progression here. So
sure.
High school, what was high school like for you?
Well, I was a little bit of an alienated teenager. What teenager isn't, it's kind of pretty common. So I'm not like special by any means, but I had very long hair. I kind of got a little bit into the drug scene, which I got into more in college. But I was very curious about the world, and I felt kind of penned at Palisades High School. My dream was to travel, was to go to exotic places. I was reading books about, from great novelists and other cultures. And so I felt a little bit like it was almost like kind of a prison for me. I loved school, and I had some amazing teachers. I had an English teacher who I don't think I'd be here talking to you right now, Michael, if it hadn't been for him, because he kind of taught me some basic lessons about writing that I never forgot. So I got a great education. But socially, I was a bit of a misfit. And I found other misfits like myself. So I did have some friends. I wasn't totally alone by any means, but the social scene was kind of alienating to me.
What do you think some of the key points that teacher taught you?
Well, I hope this isn't too boring. It's going into the weeds of my high school years, but
we want to get a little bit because the reason why folks listening, because those that don't know Robert's work, we're going to get into a very unique type of structure. The way his books are structured, they are very systematic. Beautiful, and very addictive, the way that they're structured. So I wanted to know if that was a part of it, or just a little bit about, maybe at that point.